everyone, it's Melissa, and on today's video, I will be doing a product highlight on the Bead-A-Lon memory wire. This kit was purchased from Jesse James Beads, and it has 4 different sizes of memory wire. Your small, which is like your ring size, or I like to make wine charms out of them. Your small bracelet, or you can use them for hoop earrings, a little bit larger size, your standard bracelet, and then your necklace. I'm going to go ahead and show you a few different designs using this memory wire. An important tip to remember is when using memory wire cutters, always use a flush cutter or a memory wire cutter shear. These are also made by Bead-A-Lon. This is just going to cut the wire perfectly so it's not going to damage your regular pliers or wire cutters. You'll need a pair of round nose pliers and maybe a pair of flat nose pliers. The other supplies you will need for this design, I'm using 24 gauge soft flex wire, and we'll be using the Jesse James Beads Holiday 2021 Winter Solstice. I've already used a couple of the beads from my other project I made, which was a necklace, so we're going to go ahead and use some more of them. Your round nose plier, memory wire shears, and the memory wire by Bead-A-Lon. These are the beads you will need from this collection. Feel free to mix or match to customize your ornament. We have 2 of the large crystals, 1 of the star connectors, the snowflake, some metal circle beads, the icicle beads that are faceted, 2 of the large hole beads, the 4 bead caps or bead cones. Have these crystals here with the AB on them, some more metallic blue crystals, the snowflake bead caps, the fuchsia beads, and then some glass pearls. Go ahead and gather your supplies and let's get started. Also for this project, you will use your regular wire cutters and some 6mm jump rings. The size we will need for the memory wire is going to be 1 complete circle. So we have it ending here. We're going to match up our circle. And we're going to go ahead and take our memory wire cutters and clip. So we should have a full circle. Don't worry if it overlaps just a little bit. You can trim that down. Or we are going to cut it again and you can make final adjustments at the end of the project or throughout the project. The next step is we're going to go ahead and cut this in half. So we're just going to eyeball it, make our complete circle. Now, if they're not even, we can go ahead and cut them down to size. And they don't have to be completely even because we can always add jump ring, add an additional bead. So what we do is just make one end even. You're just going to trim that little extra part off. Careful because they do fly, so just kind of cover it up when you do trim them. All right, and we're going to have 2 sections, little crescent moon. All right, let's go ahead and design our bead pattern. This is the pattern I have designed with the collection. So we have our little snowflake drop at the bottom that we're going to go ahead and attach a jump ring to, as well as this star component here. We're going to add jump rings to each end of those. And I have my little silver coin bead, a glass pearl, the bead cap surrounding the icicle, a glass pearl. The little glass crystals are going to drop down from this big crystal. And I'm just going to repeat the pattern. And then for the star, we have glass crystal, a pearl, and another glass crystal, and repeating that on that side as well. And then this one, we have that little fuchsia magenta bead, the snow flake bead caps, the large hold bead, and then we're just going to go over that way and repeat it. Right? Go ahead and make your design, create it, customize it, and be unique. Now we're going to start to string on our beads. So we're going to take 1/2 of our memory wire and our round nose pliers. I've seen a couple different ways how to do this. You can either roll it towards you and make the wrapped loop or roll it out towards you. It's completely up to you. Grab the very end of that memory wire and I'm just going to roll it towards me. And it is a tempered steel, so you might find it a little bit hard to roll. You want to try to get to a complete circle as you can, just so your jump ring doesn't slip off. We're just going to go ahead and roll that a little bit more until it touches. All right, and then we're just going to go ahead and string on our beads, and I'm going to string on this pattern here. Runaway snowflake. These. Once you string on the big crystal, go ahead and grab your Soft Flex crafting wire, 24 gauge. You're going to need about 8 to 10 inches of the wire. And we're going to go ahead and use this for the top loop so we can attach our ornament to a tree or for wall decor. So this is a little bit of a tricky part. Take your 24 gauge wire and run it back through that crystal on the memory wire. We want to add this wire now before the other beads slide on, just so that they do go on a little bit easier. And a 24 gauge wire is a very soft wire, so it is a little bit tricky and it wants to bend. You might find that sometimes the wire does kind of snap on you a little bit. You can always just cut out another piece. Okay, and then we're going to try to make that as even as we can. We'll just go ahead and straighten that out, and we'll work on that part a little bit later. And then just go ahead and string on the rest of your design on this side. When we get to the end of this pattern, you'll have a little bit left over. So what we're going to go ahead and do is just trim that down, because we need to make a wrapped loop. So this one also is a little bit tricky just because you have to eyeball it. Feel free to grab a Sharpie marker and just kind of mark where you need to cut it. And just make sure all the beads are pressed down. Give it a little snip. And then we're just going to, again, roll away bead. Make sure all the beads are completely snug down, and then just go ahead and take your round nose plier and roll that loop back. Once we have completed that section, go ahead and move it off to the side. Grab your next crescent section, and then we're going to go ahead and string on that bottom parts. It's the same thing. We're just going to go ahead and make that wrapped loop by just taking the round nose pliers and rolling it in. All right, and we're going to go ahead and start stringing. So we have another large crystal on the bottom. So we're going to do the same thing that we did on the top portion. Go ahead and cut that 24 gauge wire, and we're going to go ahead and string it through. So when we go ahead and string on our crystals, we're going to have that large crystal. And another little trick I did find out is if you wanted to cut your 24 gauge wire ahead of time and string it through the crystal and grab the ends and then string on your memory wire. Sometimes that does go through just a little bit easier, so that way you're not trying to struggle with it. And then that way you can already go ahead and get it even. It goes by just a little bit faster. And then just go ahead and string on the rest of your pattern and make that loop at the end of the segment. We made the wrapped loop on the bottom component, and now we're going to work with the wire sticking out of the large crystal. You should have 6 of the little crystal beads and then added a jump ring onto the snowflake. We're going to go ahead and take one of our wires, it doesn't matter which one. Go ahead and string on the crystals. We're going to string on 3 of these little beads. And then we're going to go ahead and add our snowflake. The This is where we get to be creative. So we can go ahead and finish this wire off by wrapping it around this large crystal. Or if you wanted to do, I think it's like the herringbone wire wrap and give it like a wire wrapped element, it's completely up to you. And then this extra wire here, we can either try to run it back through the beads to give it extra stability, or just go ahead and wrap it around the beads to get a very minimal wire wrapped look. So what I'm going to do is just kind of finish this off, and I'm going to wrap mine around the large crystal and next to the big cone just to kind of keep it into place. And then I'll take this extra wire and I'll just go ahead and wrap it around these beads. So I use a 6mm jump ring on my snowflake, and when I'm doing my wire wrapping, it's kind of sliding around. So maybe just when you wire wrap it, if you want it to stay stationary, maybe just run that wire through it to keep it in place and make it behave. I'm going to go ahead and take that around. And you can do a very neat wire wrap if you want to, or you can make it a little bit messy. It's completely up to you. This is your ornament and your beautiful creative design. You could also make the snowflake a little asymmetrical if you wanted to. This is what we should have for our component now. We should have the top part and the bottom part. And now we're going to go ahead and work on the connection with the star in the center. And then we'll go ahead and add the top part with a little bit of wire wrapping, and don't worry if the bottom part or the top part is a little bit bigger than the other, because it is memory wire, so it will flex and fit to your desired length. Now we're going to start creating with the star component. I like to keep the larger piece of the ornament for scale just so I can measure it. We're going to go ahead and use our craft wire again and get 12 to 14 inches of it. And once we have that wire, go ahead and fold it in half and give it a little snip. So you should have 2 pieces of wire, 6 to 7 inches. We're going to go ahead and take one of the wires, attach it through the jump ring of the star, and then just go ahead and give it a twist. And since again it is a 24 gauge wire, it's super easy to twist, and you could probably do this with your hands. If you wanted to, some of the bead holes are a little bit bigger with the glass pearls. I would probably recommend reaming them first just to get the hole bigger. But if you wanted to, you could go ahead and twist this all the way down and then string your beads on and give it a little bit of an extra element design. Once you've strung onto the beads on both sides of your wire, go ahead and make a wrapped loop on each end. You will have some extra wire, so if you want to go ahead and twist it now, it'll give it a little bit of like a twisted wire element design technique. Just gives texture to the ornament. Or you could wrap it as is and then take this extra wire and wrap it around your beads before the star. Completely up to you. I'd love to see how you create with this pattern. So with mine, I kind of did a messy twisted wrap. Just gives it a little bit more of that texture. I love their wire too with Soft Flex because it's super shiny, so it gives it like almost like a little diamond sparkle. So we're going to go ahead and make our wrapped loop. Just pull that down with the round nose pliers, and then you can just go ahead and wrap it around. And this one I'm going to try to go ahead and do a little bit of a neater wrap. And if you wanted to go around that first bead, you can kind of give it like a little cone shape or a little hat on that bead. Then we just go ahead and trim off the wires. Okay, we just completed our wrapped loops on each end of the star. And go ahead and bring our little components here. And kind of get an idea of your design. So now the fun part, we get to go ahead and create. Now it's up to you how much space you want to put. If you don't want to connect all the jump rings, you could put another link of wire and just connect them all together. You could use some chain reaction, that would be really pretty as well. And then it's just up to you. So we're just going to go ahead and connect them. So we're going to connect the star to the top part, and then what we're going to do is take this bottom part here and connect it to the star. So I thought of another little design element I just wanted to show you. If you didn't want to add chain or a wire wrap, you can just go ahead and attach some beads on an eye pin or make your own eye pins out of a 20 or 22 gauge wire. So I went ahead and just connected this little silver bead here with the pearl, and then I added a jump ring on top and 2 jump rings to the bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach that with the jump ring. You may need to add a few jump rings just to make sure that it does fit depending on the beads that you use, and then you will have your beautiful ornament, and then we'll show you how to finish off the top. We have just completed our beautiful ornament. It is a little large, so it'd be great like for a tree topper or just kind of the star of the show. You could also use it as a wall decor. How fun would it be to make one for a friend or attach it to one of their gifts, and it's a personalized ornament. Instead of like the snowflake charm, you could put their initial on it, or maybe use their birthstone colors. Super neat. So to go ahead and finish this off, what we're going to do is just go ahead and twist the wires over the crystal and just make sure that they're not going to overlap. And then we're just going to take both ends of the wire and just go ahead and give it a twist. And we're just going to twist that all the way to the very end of your wire. You can see sometimes it does kind of slip on that crystal, so just make sure it is completely over the crystal on the top, so it just should rest right on top of there. And then as it gets tighter, it should hold it into place, and then we're just going to keep twisting till you reach the very end. This is the beautiful ornament we have created today. I hope you were inspired and enjoyed this project. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.